Hi everyone, so today I just thought I would start my day off with a little chill, chatty catch up. I guess this is sort of inspired by the fact that it is the end of the year. There's something about December which I think makes a lot of us quite reflective, and it's been a year. I also just feel like throughout this year a lot of things have changed personally, and I have had lots of questions from people generally throughout the year about certain things I thought I could talk about in this video. I also then asked on Instagram if there's anything in particular you'd like me to talk about, so I thought I could update you on the things that you asked for on Instagram. And then also just sort of check in with all of you. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but genuinely this is my little home away from home, and this sort of space on the internet means so much to me, and gosh, I can't even express how grateful I've been for your existence this year. So it would just be nice to kind of check in with each other and catch up, fulfill your curiosity, and also just sort of yeah, I feel like I'm rambling, but I'm sure you get what I mean. I told you this one's going to be a kind of chatty, chill one, so don't expect my most articulate self. So I don't really know where to start, because I know there's tons of things people are curious about and there's tons of things I'd like to talk about. So I guess I'll just sort of start with where we are in the space-time continuum. I don't even know if that's the right use of that terminology, but it is sort of approaching Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. I also think this time of year I've also really struggled with. It's one of those times of year that I know for everybody is so emotionally raw, because there's so many expectations to be super cheerful, super happy, to meet all these pressures about gift giving and celebrating and traditions, etc, etc. But at the same time, if even the smallest thing goes wrong, or you've suffered anything in your family, it could just be a falling out, or myself, a bereavement, it's really difficult to deal with that come this time of year. And my dad passed away in November 3 years ago, so it was also quite close to Christmas, and I always just find Christmas quite a struggle without him. And obviously there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on this year, but on a personal level it just Christmas is hard anyway, I find. At the same time, however, I have been trying to embrace some aspects of the holiday season that I sort of pushed away the past few years, for good reason. I do not think, even if traditionally your family celebrates Christmas, you should ever feel obligated to continue that tradition. If it's not right for you, it doesn't have to be the best day of the year, and I very much let go of that feeling, which I did feel when I was younger and even in my early 20s, that Christmas had to be the best day of the year, and I don't feel like that anymore. You know, if you want to eat pasta and watch Bones on Christmas, then go for it. Who cares? It's just one day. But at the same time, I think because of how hard this year's been, I've noticed with a lot of people I know that we've been really trying to embrace certain aspects of this time of year which are quite joyful. So I've really enjoyed buying everyone's presents. I've had so much fun ordering and sending gifts to people. I have put up the Christmas tree with my mum for the first time since my dad passed away. It was quite emotional, sort of looking for all our decorations, because all of our decorations are sort of decorations that hold memories. We don't have a themed tree. Our theme is just memories. They're Christmas decorations we bought on holidays or belong to grandparents, and that's quite emotional. But at the same time, there's also something really important and cathartic about experiencing emotions. You don't want to forget about somebody you lost, you just want to be able to survive that grief, so do it in the best way you can. So it was really nice putting up the Christmas tree, if emotional, and it was kind of nice doing some of those older things together. Christmas itself is just going to be myself, my mum and my boyfriend, that's our little bubble. And my boyfriend's family live in England, so for the three of us to spend Christmas together just seemed the best, given all the precautions. And I think that's going to be really lovely. It's still going to be quite chill, but it's going to be nice to sort of celebrate in a way that I don't think I have celebrated in the past few years. We've sort of more ignored Christmas, whereas this year we're just finding a new way of celebrating, which I think is nice. So I am quite looking forward to it, but I also feel quite emotionally high strung, given personal things and then also just the whole world. So yeah, it's what it is. It's just a whole roller coaster of emotions I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with in your own lives. You can probably tell that I've been a little bit exhausted this past month and come the end of the year, just given that I've been uploading a little bit less onto my channel. I've never uploaded less than once a week, really. in a long time. There's been occasional small gaps, but I'm quite a consistent uploader, as you probably know, because I get a lot of joy out of filming videos, and I really enjoy engaging with people. online, and there's always usually something to talk about. I've never struggled for words in my life, to be honest, and I have sort of not been uploading as much in December, which is interesting to me because I feel like so many channels I watch have really upped how much they've been uploading, because there's been a lot of Vlogmas, there's been a lot of just sort of like like multiple times a week uploads for December, and I've just like gone the opposite direction and been uploading a lot less, which is like fine. Like, we do what we do, and I've still been uploading, but like I have definitely felt the stress of catching up with a bunch of things at the end of the year. I was trying to submit some stuff for university, which like I generally managed to do, which is good, and now I submitted something to university for my PhD like last week, and I decided I would then take 2 weeks off PhD. My PhD's been up and down. This brings us on to another topic. My PhD's been up and down throughout the year. Like, if you are in education, like this applies to everything, but in education, I know if you are like a researcher, if you've been in education, it's been a massive like struggle this year. Like, all of our brains are just working slower, I feel, and so has mine. And there's been like a couple of months, particularly in the summer, where I just did nothing on my PhD. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I did absolutely nothing. And then even when I have been working on my PhD, it has been slower. My mind just has not been functioning at the same pace that it has in the past. But I am like plodding along, and for those that are interested in the like minutiae of my PhD and my progress, I should be moving into my writing up year. So I started my PhD in January of 2016, so come this January it'll have been 5 years, and from January of 2021 to December of 2021 I'm hoping is my writing up year, and the writing up year is something that at least in British universities we have, where the expectation is that you've done all the research, you kind of know what your PhD is, and you are just physically writing it up in the most cohesive, best rhetorical way possible. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of my plan for next year. If everything goes according to plan, but that should be like completely achievable, and to submit it in December. That's what obviously I aim for. I hope I get my minor changes, I hope I then submit it and then graduate in 2022 with my PhD and become Dr. Jean Mingus, which would just be amazing. Like lifetime dream achieved. So that's hopefully the plan with the PhD, and that's kind of like where we're going, what we're doing with all of that aspect of things. Like, the longer you do a PhD, the more of a slog it gets. Like, I haven't grown to love my PhD more by any means. I hate it. I hate it with my soul. I believe in it. That's the thing that keeps me going though. Like, I believe in it. I think it's so important. I think the content I am talking about is important and worthy, but I am sick to the back teeth of it. Like, that is the honest to God truth. Like, I think this is true of anyone that does a research project that takes them between like 3 to 6 years. It is difficult to not feel a little bit like, I hate this and I never want to see it again. You feel like that after a master's dissertation, to be honest, and that was only like 4 months or something, so like... If you're not that familiar with my PhD either, I have been doing it part-time, which is why I've spent 5 to 6 years on it rather than 3 to 4, which is an average full-time PhD in the UK. So that's where we're at. I have a love-hate relationship with my PhD, which is pretty standard. I'm still very glad that I have had an opportunity to do it. I feel very fortunate, but it's been a ton of hard work, and yeah. There's a bunch of other things I want to do with my life. I don't really dream of being a full-time lecturer at university anymore like I did when I was 22, let's say, it was still kind of my dream when I was 22. I'm 28 now. For various reasons, part of that because of the difficulty in finding positions in academia these days. It's very, very hard for the humanities. My university itself is having a real battle to preserve the humanities department, and if you can do anything to support the arts and humanities at your local sort of research institutions, at universities, like support sign petitions online, write to chancellors, then please, please, please do, because the humanities and the arts are so important, and it's so sad to see the attempts to belittle those departments. So there's obviously all of that minutiae, but I guess if I still felt passionate in having that as my full-time job, I would still find a way of pursuing that, because that's the kind of person I've always been. And I do enjoy teaching and I do enjoy researching, and I still would like to do both those things, but I want to do other things, and I have always wanted to do other things. As you know, I want to be a writer. I am a writer. I still feel weird saying that, because in 2020 my first book came out, my first children's book on Greek mythology, which was like a massive highlight of my year. It was such a wonderful experience writing that book, and my goodness, the feedback I have had. I have had some of the most kind emails from parents, tweets, reviews, thoughtful comments. It just like overwhelms me. I have cried multiple times at the nice things people have said about my book. And I'm so glad of it, because I'm making my subject, classics, mythology, accessible is what I'm more passionate about than anything else, because I went to state school, I did not get a classical education. I have very much encountered that perception of classics and that reputation of classics, that it is sort of like elite, that it is upper class, that it is more highbrow, when really like it's for everybody. And I hate the sort of like classism within classics. So like I think being able to like pick a book up in the library as a kid about Greek mythology that like has loads of facts in it is wonderful, and I'm glad I can contribute to that. So that has been so joyful and so wonderful, and like means so much to me. And I've always wanted to be a published author as well. Like that has been my dream, my main dream, since I was 7 years old. And I have laughed multiple times this year, because when I was picking my subjects for my 5th year of secondary school, so my penultimate year of secondary school, when I was picking my higher subjects, which are a little bit like A-levels, it's not the same in Scotland, but there's like a vague comparison for you. I remember sitting down with one of the teachers who was to help you pick your subject and sort of say, so what do you want to do as a career? That might help you pick your subjects. Like, do you want to be a doctor? You might want to do science. Do you want to be a PE teacher? You might want to do PE. Like, I don't know. Those kind of experiences. And I vividly remember telling this teacher that I wanted to be an author. And she literally laughed in my face and then said, but what do you really want to do? That was literally her words. I remember coming back from school feeling really defeated. I never let it stop me, but like there was a lot of occasions like that, I think, where you're not expected to do things like that, especially if you're from a working class background. And I did it. I published my book, so in your face for not having faith in me. I mean, I don't really blame that teacher for saying that. Like, it's just part of like a much more ingrained societal attitude, but it's really satisfying at the same time, because I did it. And even if I never publish another book again, no one can ever take that away from me. Now, a lot of people asked about my publishing journey and the fiction book I've talked about, and sort of my search for an agent, etc. So I guess I'll also tell you about that. I don't have a literary agent. My non-fiction book was done without a literary agent, which isn't that uncommon for more like academic, educational non-fiction books. That can happen. I mean, that can happen for fiction too, but I feel like it's more common for my area. And I am actually talking about possibly doing another children's non-fiction book. Like, I've sent a proposal to my publishers, and we're sort of discussing that, like, touch wood. I don't know if it will happen. I've not signed a contract. Like, I can't rely on any of this, but it would be wonderful if that goes ahead, because I loved writing Greek myths, and I would love to work on something else for children, for non-fiction, because I was a big like consumer of children's non-fiction as a child. Plus I think like children's non-fiction for adults, also big fan. So like that is something that I'm hoping will happen, but like cannot make any promises to myself or to you. Who knows? That would be really nice if that does happen though, so that would be great. I did finish my fiction novel this year, as I've talked about on social media and in other videos. I've been working on a queer high fantasy novel with dragons and a female-female romance, and I loved writing that book. It took me 2 years. I finished it during lockdown, which was like the most cliche thing to do, but I did it. And I'd started it, like I said, like 2 years previously, so it was like a big labour of love to get to the end, and I just feel so satisfied that I finished a fiction novel. Like, it is not an easy task to finish a novel. It is the first in a series, so I never actually finished the whole story. But I know how the story would progress. Like, I have plans for the sequels, probably a trilogy. I know, another cliche, what can I say? But it was so satisfying to actually finish a whole novel, regardless of whether it gets published or not. Like, that is a massive achievement in my mind, because I've written short stories that I've finished, and I've started a bunch of novels, but I've never finished a novel. So very satisfying, pat on the back to me, very proud of myself. I have been submitting it to agents, and I've had lots of rejections, which again, very, very common. The likelihood is if you finish a novel, you're going to not receive replies from some agents, and you're going to receive rejections from other agents. Just like how every reader is not going to love your book, every agent's not going to love your book, and agents have to be picky, and I like totally understand that. They have to fall in love with a project and really sort of narrow down what they decide to represent, because they get approached by tons and tons of authors. But it is a little bit like, you know, if you get that rejection email late at night, you can feel a little bit downtrodden, totally. But I try to like keep at it, you know, like I'm keeping my spirits up. I have still got on submission to some other agents, and I've also submitted to 2 publishing houses which take unsolicited fantasy pitches. So like I've submitted the book to 2 publishing houses which don't require an agent, which is rare. Most publishing houses for fiction will require an agent. So I've done that. It's out there in the world, still possibly with some people. My kind of plan for the new year is not necessarily, there's one other agent I'd like to submit to who is closed over Christmas that I'll submit to in January. But other than that, I think I'm going to slow down on the submitting because it's out there with some other people. And I don't want all my eggs in one basket. Like I don't want to feel like I've stopped writing whilst I'm waiting for this to happen. And what I would really like to do in the new year is work on my Highlander romance. So I mentioned this, that during NaNoWriMo I attempted to write a Highlander romance novel, which I thought would be so much fun, set in the 1800s in the Scottish Highlands. Very cliche, really just wanted to go for the tropes but also like add a little bit of like Scottish authenticity to the whole affair. But you might have also seen this on social media. During NaNoWriMo, when I'd reached about 10,000 words of my novel, my computer broke. It was all my fault. Like I completely am responsible for my computer breaking, but it was like an accident and it was just really, really unfortunate. I spilled a glass of milk on it. It was just like one of those things which was just so 2020. So I spilled a glass of milk on my laptop. I had to replace it because I can't do anything without my laptop. I work on my laptop, I research on my laptop, and that was expensive. I had to reshuffle some plans for my money I'd been saving, buy myself a laptop, but you know what, I'm very lucky that I was even able to do that, so like glad I could, got a new laptop, lost the Highlander romance. But I'd only written 10,000 words, which is like a reasonable amount, but nowhere near enough for a novel. So I very much feel like I could just start again. Like I remember what I wrote, I feel like I could write all down similarly because it was kind of tropey and I was like here for it. So I'm gonna go back to that because I think I'll have a lot of fun doing that, and it's something a bit different, and it would be like a nice sort of, I think, continuation of the video I did at the beginning of this year, which was an actual Scot writes a Highlander romance. I considered even doing a vlog of an actual Scot writes, did I say right? I did a vlog which was an actual Scot reads Highlander romances, and now I think I want to do a vlog which is an actual Scot writes a Highlander romance. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. But that's what I'd like to do in the new year, and then once I've sort of had some time away from my fancy novel, if I still haven't had any success, I might go back and do some more redrafts and see if I can do anything with that. Self-publishing is always something I would consider. Like I would never completely write that off, but for now I'm pursuing the agent traditional publishing route, and that's kind of where we're at with all my writing stuff, I think, because people asked a lot about my writing. Another thing I was thinking of doing was maybe posting more of my writing samples and my fiction and my short stories and just like little tidbits over on Patreon. I recently revamped the tiers on my Patreon account, which is a platform that allows you to support financially creators that you appreciate online. So it's certainly not something I expect everybody to participate in, like we all have our own budgets, but it's a platform I really appreciate because I'm able to have the support of some of you who are able. I'm also able to engage with you and offer extra perks, and I really enjoy that little community we have. Plus I myself support certain creators because it's a nice way that I can give back to them for the things that they create, and I just think like it's a great platform. Like I love Patreon as a concept. And I have various tiers on there already. We have a quarterly book club, so every 3 months we read a different book, and then I upload a video and we discuss it, which is so much fun. Really enjoy that. I have a tier which allows me to pick and buy a Kindle book every month for the people in that tier, which is one of my favourite things to do. Like, I always do that near the end of the month. I get to sit down, I look at their Goodreads, and a lot of people have now been on that tier for a few months, so I really feel like I'm getting to know their reading taste, and we talk about the books sometimes that I've sent them, so that's really nice, and I get to sort of look at what's available on Kindle and what I've read and what I would recommend, and gift them a Kindle book. So I really enjoy that. We also have a tier where I upload just like a bonus video every month, which is super chill, a bit more like this, where I talk about my reading, catch up, talk a little bit more about behind the scenes, sometimes like about my work and etc, etc. So I enjoy that. Plus I recently added some tiers, or brought back some tiers. So back like last year, like the year before even, I had a tier where I was sending out postcards to people, and I decided to bring that tier back because that was a lot of fun as well. So I've added that tier back. So you can now also like sign up to the postcard tier as well as all those other tiers, or you can literally not sign up to a tier at all. You could just like donate $1 a month or £1 a month if you wanted, and you don't have to like participate in all of these extra bonus things. It's just like a way to tip me. Or I'm also thinking, like I said, of maybe creating like a writing tier, which would be more in depth. It might even be more of like a writing community. We could like feedback on stuff, but like I'm not exactly sure how that would work. If it would just be me sharing my stuff, or we could like develop more of like a reciprocal relationship. So let me know if you have any thoughts on what you would like if I was to start a sort of more writing club tier. That would be really, really helpful. And of course my Patreon will be linked down below in the description box. I have to say, like, Patreon has been such an incredible help and support this year. It's such an unstable time of year, and I'm lucky that I have still had work. But you know, like everybody, it's scary times. Actually, on that topic, I guess, kind of moving on from that, something loads of people wanted to know about was my living situation, because obviously I'm still living at home. Back at the beginning of lockdown, like a week before lockdown, I came back home. I thought maybe I was coming back home for like a month or two. Nobody knew what was going on in the world. Like, I just sort of had no real plans. And wanted to be with my mum during this time, and if we were going into lockdown, and that just seemed more sensible. And I'm still here. I officially moved out of my flat in London, you know, like my lease was on a rolling lease. I'd lived in the same flat for over 3 years, but we were on a rolling monthly lease at this point, and we just cut off our lease. We, you know, moved out. I hired a moving company to actually move all my stuff up for me, which was amazing. Like, if you need a recommendation for a moving company, check out Mint Removals, because they are amazing, like so good. I'll link them down below. They were so helpful. Don't know what I would have done without them, because I don't drive. It's obviously a pandemic, so like movement was really difficult, and it just made it so easy. So I did that. I moved back home, moved all my stuff here, and I'm still here. Originally I was going to move back to London, and I am not anymore. Like, simple, to the point, I'm not moving back to London ever. My life plan had always been to move back to Edinburgh. I'm wearing my pyjama bottoms with my dress. Don't look. I had always planned on moving back to Edinburgh, but I had planned to do it after I'd finished my PhD, because this was kind of where I wanted to settle down and do all of that stuff. But, you know, I think this year has made us all sort of change our plans slightly, so I've moved back now. I am living in Edinburgh, obviously still in my mum's house. I'm hoping to move out next year. I don't know what shape or form moving out will take, or how that will all work out, but like if I could move out sort of late, like sort of next summer or something like that, then that would be great. But in the meantime, I get on with my mum. She has space for me here, and that is very lucky and very fortunate. So yeah, I'm back in Scotland. I live in Edinburgh. I'm living with my mum probably for like at least now 6 months, so really no complaints here. Yeah, I feel, gosh, how long have I been filming? I've been filming for almost an hour. Goodness only knows how long this video is going to be, if I'm going to manage to edit down, or you are going to end up watching a 40-minute video, and well done if you have. But I should probably just stop talking now. So thank you so much for watching and just like catching up with me. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know about your 2020, the good, the bad, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, whatever you'd like to share. I would love to hear from you, and we can just chat a little bit. That's kind of like where I'm at with everything, I guess. Like, there's obviously so much more to an individual than they can cover in 40 minutes, but like I know that these are topics that you were all curious about, so hopefully I sort of like satisfied some of that curiosity for you, and we can just like chat more. Really, really appreciate all of your comments, all of your views, all of your support this year, and just having had this community all year, genuinely. I mean, I feel this at the end of every year, but just like to reiterate it at the end of 2020, thank you so much for interacting with me and hanging out with me. So yeah, until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye everyone.